The floodgates are opening. This is what we heard from Ripple president Monica Long earlier this year. And when we really think about it, right, it is happening. The floodgates are opening, and they're opening to the biggest banks in the world. And this is actually very significant to follow because what we are witnessing is banks getting the big green light, which will lead to mainstream adoption, which will also lead to trillions of dollars moving on chain. This is a very crucial time to be paying attention to this. And when we really think about it, it all really started back in March of this year, where we did get this big update from David Sachs regarding what the FDIC put out. We have the FDIC has made it easier for banks to engage in crypto-related activities. This is one of the best ways to mainstream crypto further. Thanks, FDIC Gov and Acting Chairman Travis Hill. And if we actually look into this, we have FDIC clarifies process for banks to engage in crypto-related activities. And then over here, we just have the breakdown of it. But this is actually very big because it's coming from the FDIC. This is one of the biggest players around the banking sector, the one that actually provides the insurance on most bank accounts in the US, and they're giving the green light to big banks. So when we think about what's happening here, this was a clear sign that things are changing. Then we got the OCC on May 7th. The OCC clarifies national banks can buy and sell crypto assets at customers' direction and outsource custody and execution services to third parties with proper risk management. And we also even got a video from the OCC themselves saying that OCC regulated banks may buy and sell assets held in custody and are permitted to outsource bank permissible crypto asset activities, including custody and execution services. Check this out.
More than 50 million Americans hold some form of cryptocurrency. This digitalization of financial services is not a trend. It is a transformation. Here at the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, we confirm that national banks and federal savings associations may engage in certain cryptocurrency activities responsibly in order to serve their customers. OCC-regulated banks may provide custody services, including the safekeeping and secure storage of cryptocurrencies and other digital assets, all on behalf of their customers. The banks we supervise also may buy and sell cryptocurrencies they hold in custody at their customers' direction. Additionally, these banks may provide other custody services, including record keeping, tax, or reporting services for their customers. OCC banks may use a sub-custodian to provide the same services, subject to appropriate third-party risk management practices. While a range of cryptocurrency and digital asset activities may be performed by banks and their third parties, I want to be clear that the OCC expects these activities to be conducted in a safe and sound manner and in compliance with applicable law. To learn more, please visit occ.gov.
So this was a very big, confirmation on top of the FDIC that the banks, all of the big obstacles around the big banks jumping into crypto, offering crypto related services, all of those obstacles are now getting removed. And then we also got this on June 14th, which was US banks can now offer it's crypto services. I always hate when they say just Bitcoin services. This is from a Bitcoin Maxi account, obviously, but can now offer crypto services. SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce confirms that every US bank can now provide crypto services. Wall Street's full crypto onboarding may just be beginning. So yeah, this is also another, big shift around this market. And this leads me into what we just got on the 24th. New. Fed Chair Powell says banks are free to conduct crypto activities and also provide banking services to the crypto industry. This is from Subjective Views. Check this out.
In particular, you in the Fed and others at the Fed have spoken positively about the House and Senate work to regulate stablecoin in particular, a real opportunity to dollarize the globe and be a significant purchaser of U.S. Treasuries. Following that action by the Fed, have you seen an identifiable shift in banks or other regulated entities as it relates to engagement in the digital asset space?
I wouldn't be the one to be picking that up first, but what I do see is a very significant change in the tone, and it really does reflect evolving thinking and the evolving status of the crypto industry. And I would expect over time we'll see more activity.
How is the Fed evaluating and overseeing banks or other regulated entities that are in the digital assets or crypto space?
So our view is that banks get to decide who their customers are. That's not our decision. And so banks are free to provide banking services to the crypto industry, to crypto companies. And banks are also free to conduct crypto activities as long as they do so in a way that is, protective of safety and soundness.
Thank you very
So we have a clear green light across the board from the Fed to the OCC and to the FDIC now. And this is extremely bullish for XRP and Ripple. Why? Well, let's just go back to 7 years ago. I know, crazy, right? 7 years ago. These are all of the Ripple partnerships. And the source was actually from Ripple's website originally, because on Ripple's website it actually listed all of the partnerships. Look at all of these massive, big banks around the world, including even in the US. When we look at this list, okay, and we think about what's happening right now around institutional players, what do you think happens with Ripple and XRP? We are about to see mass adoption of this technology. It kind of reminds me back to January, right? Where we heard from Bank of America. Bank of America CEO says financial industry will jump into crypto payments if regulators allow it. We know that regulators are allowing it because of JP Morgan moving further into crypto with stablecoin-like token, JPMD. On top of that, we also saw State Street to launch crypto custody in 2026. Citi also leans in. This was back in February of this year. Now, I want to go over Citi here in a second, but let's first play that clip again from March where Monica Long said, Bank of America CEO says we're all in. It feels like the floodgates are going to open. Check this out.
It feels like the floodgates are going to open this year, doesn't it? I mean, so within the past week, a couple weeks, so SAB 121 being called back or rolled back. And I mean, within, it felt like minutes, you hear from CEOs like Bank of America saying we're all in. And, these are institutions that Bank of America was one of our early partners when we were doing kind of like the messaging software only payment solution. So we've worked with these types of banks for a long time, and the lack of clarity, and I think in the more recent time, even hostility toward, hey, using these assets and this technology is not okay, it's dangerous, which is not the best way to handle it, as we would say. But looking forward, I would say, yes, it seems like there's going to be a sea change this year. And even I could say post-November, the US election result, even just the ongoing conversations we've had with banks around being reserve bank or transaction banking partners for the stablecoin or for our payments business, like the tone and message changed overnight. Like it was quick.
The signaling.
And yeah, everything did change because now we are starting to see all of the big players that actually overlook the big banks like the FDIC, the OCC, and even the Fed. They're all saying, yeah, go ahead, jump into crypto as long as you are playing by the rules. And with Citi and all of these big banks, you got to remember that these big banks have been here for quite some time. Bank of America is not new to crypto. JP Morgan is not new to crypto. Citi is not new to crypto. Back in 2024, Citi introduced Citi Integrated Digital Assets Platform, the CIDAP, driving innovation and building solutions with blockchain, where they actually did talk about, this digital transformation that's happening and the key components behind this, the practical use cases, which was like Citi token services for cash, services for trade pilot, bond blocks, bond exchange, private fund tokenization, proof of concept. Like these big banks have been preparing for this. They have been ready. And even over here, we have Citi Digital Assets. This is their entire breakdown of what Citi is doing with DLT and blockchain, and people still seem to not see it. Tokenization of private markets, proof of concept, token services for cash, trade, digital custody and settlement, digital issuance, pricing and execution of trades, regulated liability network, proof of concept. Then down here, we have all of the breakdowns of what they're doing, with some of these things, like the DTCC is tapped in here with Wellington and Wisdom Tree. I mean, when we think about these big players, they're already here. And outside of the US, we continue to see things accelerate. Bank of Korea supports phased stablecoin launches. 8 banks create digital yuan venture. Like, this is no longer a game of, oh, I wonder if this is going to be happening, or, oh, let's speculate on if this is going to happen. No, it's the fact that this is happening. These things are starting to accelerate. We're starting to see the biggest players in the world around finance shifting on chain. Like, when you have JP Morgan launching a deposit token, right? Because this is not exactly a stablecoin. It's similar to a stablecoin, but it's a deposit token. When you have players like JP Morgan that are now tokenizing deposits and moving into crypto on public blockchains, by the way, that's when you need to really open your eyes to see what's happening here. Because what JP Morgan does, all of the big banks will follow. Why? Because it's, a competitive market. All of these banks are competing with one another. So if JP Morgan is tokenizing a deposit token, all of a sudden, Bank of America is looking into this. We already know Citi is, looking into this. Citi already has, these deposit tokens, right? This is exactly what this is. These are like deposit tokens. Even when we go over here to the CIDAP, right? If we scroll down, we could see the deposit tokens here being addressed in terms of tokenizing at their branches. I mean, this is insane. It's insane because nobody in the real world understands that these big banks that they utilize on a day-to-day basis, like how many people have a bank account through JP Morgan with Chase or Citi or even Bank of America? Or maybe there's another big bank that, they're using in the US that might also be looking into digital assets or DLT and blockchain. Most people are unaware of what's actually happening behind the scenes. And by the way, when it comes to blockchain and DLT, this is all back-end technology. And also some of the biggest names out there, the infrastructure players for the institutional players, right? Like Fiserv, are already connecting thousands of banks to crypto with new stablecoin platforms. This got announced on June 24th. By the way, if you guys don't know, Fiserv is a massive, massive giant. Just for reference, if we go to their About section on their website, check this out. Here we have the stats. 10,000, nearly 10,000 financial institution clients. That is insane. 1.6 billion issuing accounts on file. 6 million merchant locations globally as well. This is one of the largest infrastructure players within the institutional side of things. And they are now connecting into a stablecoin platform. I mean, when we think about what's going on here, we're no longer sitting here speculating on if the banks are going to tap into crypto. We already knew this back in, 2018 that the big banks were here. We knew it because of Ripple. We knew it because of, the big banks that already had private POCs with Ripple and XRP as well. What's happening right now, this market opening up for, big banks to tap in to really kind of provide mainstream adoption for crypto. This is extremely bullish for those players that have been preparing for this for years, for over a decade now. And Ripple is one of those players. And of course, yes, XRP, in my opinion, will see a tremendous amount of adoption and value and volume because of this as well. So this is extremely exciting. And I think that we need to be paying attention to these types of moves. And the Fed confirming this as well. It's happening, guys. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, leave a like, subscribe, set notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.